All right, welcome back. Today we're diving into something really creepy. It's a piece of digital horror that's powerful not for what it says, but for, well, everything it doesn't say. Okay, so let's just start right here. Mom, Mom, Lisa. That's it. 3 words. What do you even make of that? Is it a kid calling for their mom? Maybe the mom's name is Lisa? Or is someone talking to their mom about this Lisa person? We have absolutely no idea. We're just thrown right in, and our brains immediately start trying to piece it together. It's a puzzle from the very first second.
So, to have any hope of figuring this out, we've got to look at the evidence. We're going to analyze the raw, kind of choppy narrative that makes this whole thing tick. So what you're seeing here, these are little pieces from the full transcript of a YouTube horror story. And honestly, calling it a script is being generous. The words just feel so disconnected. Lisa put, school laid by, yellow. It's not a story, right? It feels more like, I don't know, corrupted data, or like you're hearing bits of a conversation through a wall. And trust me, that feeling of confusion, that is totally on purpose.
But even with all this chaos, if you look closely, you start to see patterns. There are clues hidden in there. And we're going to put on our detective hats and start pulling out the basic pieces: the who, the where, and the what.
Believe it or not, we can actually pull a whole cast of characters out of these fragments. So we've definitely got a mom or mommy, no doubt about that. Then there's Lisa. Her name pops up over and over. But then you get this really mysterious me character who literally says, "Hello, Lisa, me, who?" Who is that? A third person? We have no clue. And that not knowing part, that's so important.
Okay, so we've got our characters, but where in the world are they? Well, this line right here, scolate by mom, that's our first real clue. Sco is probably school, right? So maybe it's just a kid late for school yelling a quick goodbye to their mom. It's super normal, super relatable. It makes this whole weird thing feel like it's happening in a world we actually know.
But then, things get weird. A little later, you see this. Good night, Mommy. Good night, sweetheart. Hold on. Wait a second. Weren't they just leaving for school? Is it morning or is it night? The timeline is just gone. It gives you this dizzy, almost dreamlike feeling, like the basic rules of reality are just starting to fall apart.
And then, bam, this is where everything just shatters. Lisa, 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 ah. The way the name is repeated, it's like a chant, but it's panicked. And that ah at the end, that's not just a sound, that's pure terror. Think about it. We went from a totally normal bye mom to this. The real horror is asking yourself, what on earth happened in between?
So, up to now, we've been trying to solve this thing, right? Trying to fill in all the blanks. But here's where we need to flip the script. What if there's nothing to solve? What if the horror isn't in the story, but in all the parts that are missing? What if the gaps themselves are the whole point?
And that idea, that brings us to the technique behind all this madness. We're going to talk about minimalist horror and how it brilliantly uses our own minds against us.
So there's a name for this. It's called implied horror. And it's a way of telling a story where the scariest stuff is never, ever spelled out. Instead, the creator gives you these unsettling little breadcrumbs. And your brain does all the heavy lifting. It fills in the blanks with whatever scares you the most. And that's why it works so well, isn't it? The monster you imagine is always scarier than anything someone could show you.
And if you look at our story, it's using all the tools in the toolbox. That fragmented dialogue makes you second-guess everything. Those vague sounds like, that's just pure emotion with no explanation. There's no narrator, so nobody's holding our hand. We're completely lost right there with the characters. And those crazy tonal shifts from a sweet, good night to a scream, it's like emotional whiplash, and it's so effective.
Okay, so let's pull back for a second. This whole thing, it's not just a story floating in space. It's a piece of content. It was made for YouTube. And that context, the platform itself, adds this whole other fascinating layer to what's going on.
So picture this. The story itself ends right here, on this terrifying, confusing, deeply unsettling moment. You're just left hanging, no answers, your heart's probably pounding, just pure dread. And then, literally a second later, this happens. Hi everyone, hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. It's the standard YouTuber outro. The lights just flick on, the spooky atmosphere is gone, and you're smacked with the reality that this terrifying thing you just experienced is also, content. It's so jarring. And that jarring shift really shows you the two different hats a digital horror creator has to wear. You've got the art on one side. Its job is to create fear, to immerse you, to leave you hanging. But on the other side, you've got the product. And the product needs likes, comments, subscribers, and needs to grow. It has to end with that call to action. So these creators are constantly balancing being a horror artist and being a smart marketer. It's a real tightrope walk.
So what's the big takeaway here? I think it's that horror doesn't always need a big monster or a complicated plot. Sometimes the scariest thing is just nothing. Absence, the space between things. It kind of leaves you with this one last, chilling thought to chew on. In a world that is just full of constant noise, maybe the most terrifying sound is the silence between the words, the things that nobody ever says out loud. Thanks for digging into this one with us.